Excellent. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. Today, what I think we'll do is, we'll introduce ourselves a little bit, as a company, and then we're going to go through and look at some of the applications that are available for manufacturing and distribution, as it says on the slide there, and go through a demo and look at how some of those things can work in your environment and potentially help you out. All right. To get started, a little bit about who we are. So InsightWorks. We've been around for a little over 10 years now. As a company, we predate that. But, as InsightWorks, providing these solutions just over 10 years. And we work globally. We're based out here in Western Canada, as you can probably tell from the accent. But we do have, customers globally, and we work with Fujifilm Microchannel in Australia to help deploy all of these solutions. So, on AppSource, the Microsoft App Store for Business Central, we've got 35,000 downloads. I think we're the 11th app for Business Central on AppSource. We've got a lot of installs and exposure in the manufacturing area, shipping. In Australia, we've got a couple of hundred carriers we support in Australia as far as being able to ship. Manufacturing, we schedule billions of dollars of product a year. We have a number of applications on the manufacturing side. So we're going to get into some of those as we go. This sort of pile of boxes here. That's sort of an overview of all the applications we have, and we'll cover some of these off in the presentation. But a number of these applications in here are also free. So if you're running on, Business Central Cloud environment, what these are free applications you can install from AppSource. They're not all the free apps. We have probably another 20 or so on top of that, but these are some of the key ones. You can install these. There's no registration. You don't have to tell us what you're doing. You just install them and you can start using them. So quick overview of them. We're going to look at some of these as we get into the session, but the ones on the top are sort of utility applications, cloud printing to simplify, printing documents automatically or printing multiple documents with a single action. Import-export power tool, more power user type tool to manage data and things like that within the environment, and barcode generator for generating barcodes. So those are kind of foundational things you'd want. Then down here are the applications you'd actually see and use. So things like graphical scheduler. We'll look at this in the demo, but it allows you to, visualize your production orders, drag and drop those production orders, or jobs, or assembly orders, or any custom tables that you have in your system. So very configurable solution that you can use to, visualize anything within your environment. Doc extender is drag and drop document management. So Business Central has, basic drag and drop. This is a little better. It allows you to store in SharePoint or in Business Central. And the advantage of storing in SharePoint is now you've got a pretty comprehensive document management solution because you can do alerts, revision history, all of those sorts of things simply by dragging and dropping into Business Central. And then these last two, are really for the distribution businesses or the smaller facilities potentially, where they give you the ability to do shipping and warehouse management at no cost. So WMS Express gives you everything you need, all the basics you need for a warehouse, and that's, picking or shipping, receiving, stock take, and bin movements. So if those are sort of the four key things that you need, that WMS Express has everything. You plug it in, and away you go. Ordership Express is similar, except obviously it's for shipping. So that allows you to do domestic package shipments, so anything that's parcel shipments, and you can bring your own carriers. So we do have a number of Australian carriers available for Ordership Express, not as much as the Dynamic Ship, which I'll talk about in a moment. But if you're using UPS and FedEx and some of those more international carriers, that has full support for them. It's free. It takes about 10 minutes to set up, and you can start shipping from within Business Central, generate your shipping labels, get your rates, all of those sorts of things. Okay, so that's a quick overview of those free applications. But really, what we're here to talk about today is more focus on the manufacturing distribution. So let's look at sort of an overview of what we have for, first of all, distribution and fulfillment. So the first thing you need to worry about, other than after you've entered the order, so you obviously have to do the order entry. We're going to cover that as well in a moment. But what this allows you to do is after you've got that sales demand in the system, the next question is going to be, what can I actually ship today? What can I get out of the facility today? So for warehouses where you have, one central person managing what goes out to the shop floor, those sorts of things, order fulfillment worksheet is really the tool that you need, because that's going to automate the selection and creation of orders to fulfill. So it's going to create the picks if you use them, create the warehouse shipments if you use them, or just print the picking list from the sales order if you use that. But it's going to give you that visibility into what you can actually ship today and manage any back orders that come in the system as well. Now, once we've decided, what we're shipping today and created the picks, the next step is to go out into the warehouse and execute on those instructions. And there's two solutions for that. One is Warehouse Insight. So that's the full subscription-based warehouse management solution. So more advanced solution, or WMS Express, which I mentioned earlier. So either of these, you can execute your picks, grab everything you need to get out the door and scan barcodes to do it. Now, once we've picked everything, of course, we have to get out the door. So then we go on to these two options. Now, I've already talked about Order Ship Express. So again, domestic parcel type shipments, that is a great solution for. It doesn't cost you anything, a few minutes to set up and you're running. Or if you move to Dynamic Ship with a partnership we have with MockShip in Australia, you've got access to about 300 Australian carriers that you can use. You can do all your packaging, you can do your rate shopping, you can do your label generation, everything you need to ship right from within Business Central without going out to an external provider or external software or anything else, and it's all done within Business Central. So again, we plan what we're going to do in the facility, we execute it on handheld devices by scanning barcodes, and then we use the shipping automation tools to get the product out the door. Pretty simple. All right. Now, that's the distribution side of things. The manufacturing side, something similar, right? So on the manufacturing side, it's not just a matter of, scheduling or execution, it's everything combined. So what we do is we start with the planning side. And what the planning does, that enhanced planning pack, provides better tools for doing, MRP or purchase planning compared to the standard Business Central. And then we've got a number of tools for production analysis as well. So what happened after the production occurred? How do we match our actuals to our expected, things like that. So it will provide some forecasting tools. So it uses the Azure AI infrastructure to do forecasting. And then you can do your planning and generate your production orders, your assembly orders, or whatever else, your purchase orders, and then you need to execute those. So the next step, after we've got the production supply or our production orders in the system, we need to get those scheduled appropriately so the personnel in the shop can manage them. And for that, we've got these two options. So the graphical scheduler I mentioned earlier, free tool. As soon as I've got my production orders from the planning worksheet or our enhanced planning pack, those production orders we'll be able to see on the graphical scheduler. We'll be able to drag and drop them. We'll be able to customize the views, use that to determine what the execution of those production orders is going to look like within the facility. However, if you've got a lot of production orders, nobody wants to sit there all day dragging and dropping and all sorts of things. What you want is a system to automatically generate that schedule for you. So that's the guy above. So that's that MX APS. So APS is really advanced planning and scheduling. I like to refer to it as automated production scheduling, because that's really what it does. I hit a button or have it run in the job queue automatically, so I don't even have to hit a button. It will take all my production demand, it'll schedule it appropriately, it'll look at material requirements and missing material, it'll look at my labor, it'll look at everything, generate a schedule that I can actually send to the shop floor and work against, all automatically. So depending on the volume within your facility, that can save dozens of hours a week even, compared to trying to schedule things manually. All right, now once I've got it all scheduled and I send that schedule out to the shop floor, we now need to capture what actually happened on the shop floor. A lot of people are doing it with paper and things like that. Well, instead, we've got shop floor insight. And what that allows us to do is use barcodes or touch screens to capture what the employees are doing within the shop floor area. So, the amount of time they spent on a specific operation, the quality information, viewing diagrams, doing consumption and output. Everything you need to do on the shop floor, you're able to do through, shop floor insight. And of course, that's real time with Business Central, so that feeds it back in. So the next time we need to schedule something, we know exactly what happened on the prior shift or prior day within the facility, and our new schedule is going to be a very realistic representation of what we need to do on a daily basis. Okay, so all of these are independent and optional, I should mention. Same with the distribution apps. You can get just one or the other, or whatever you want to do. But as a whole, they work very well together. The planning feeds the scheduling feeds the shop floor results, feed back into the scheduling to make sure your schedule is accurate. Okay, so those are some of the key manufacturing applications. And then, of course, once the manufacturing is done, you've got inventory, and you're probably not going to leave it in your warehouse for the rest of your life. You're going to need to get it out the door. So that's when we get back into our fulfillment applications, where, again, we can use the order fulfillment worksheet to see what we're able to ship today. We can use Warehouse Insight or WMS Express for the picking and shipping. One quick note on the Warehouse Insight, it can also do production activities as well. If you don't care about your timing, like your labor time, maybe you just want to use Warehouse Insight to do your consumption, output, those sorts of things. Okay, but at any rate, once we're completed the production, we can use Warehouse Insight to put the product away, to pick it, whatever you need to do. We can use a fulfillment worksheet to figure out what we can ship today, and then we send it out to Dynamic Ship to get that product out the door. All right, so those are some of the key applications. We're going to look at a number of those and a couple of other ones as well as we jump into the demo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over here into Business Central, and we're going to start with sort of a day in the life. We're going to do some basic order entry, and then we're going to jump in and see how that flows through the system at a very high level. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into sales orders here, and this is the first time I've logged into Business Central in a few hours, so it might be a little slow, but I'm going to create a new sales order really quick here. And as I mentioned, it's going to be a tiny bit slow, and we'll just choose a customer that I know, and that's it. All right, so we've got our sales order here. Now, this customer wants to, well, first of all, we need to chase them because they've got an overdue balance. But what we're going to do is they buy configured product, or we sell configured product. Now, you may not need a configurator which allows you to build customized bills of material, customized products. But I'm going to walk through that really quickly here just so you get an idea of what's possible. So our company here, in Business Central, we sell products that can be customized. And so when I open up what we call this BOM designer, this is going to allow me to customize a product I'm selling to this customer. And I've got a number of different products I can customize. I've got chairs and lights and desks and all sorts of things, and all that kind of thing. And one of the things I've got is a bicycle, right? So I sell a mountain bike here. So this is what the customer wants to buy. I've got a specific style of mountain bike that they're going to buy. And I've got a number of options I can select for that bike. So I'm starting with a specific model here, but I can customize the size of it and everything else. So what this allows me to do is come in and select options for these various choices here, select choices for the various options. And as I'm doing it, it's building up a picture of that particular product I'm manufacturing. Now you'll notice here I've got two options for handlebars, and down here I've got a bell and a light and things like that I can select later. But if I choose these standard handlebars, what it does is it forces me through rules that you define that says, hey, you know what, if you're using this component, you also need to include this component down here. And you notice the light option went away. I can't select a light because these handlebars apparently need 2 bells or something like that. And that quantity of bells, if I change that, it's not going to allow it because it's based on a formula that we've defined. I've just said, for every handlebar that he buys, he needs to buy 2 bells. So it's going to calculate that quantity there. At any rate, you can define rules like that hide options, show options, enforce options, all of those sorts of things. I'm just going to go through here. I'm going to build up my, mountain bike real quick, and away we go. We're going to just choose the basics. And by the way, here I might have 5 different wheels, but they maybe don't work with that frame. So the wheels are hidden because they don't work with the specific frame I have selected. So I'm going to select a number of options here. It's going to build up, the image of that. It's going to calculate the cost of this, including the labor that's required to manufacture this, and the price that we're selling it for, okay, and the weight and everything else. And that's basically it. So what this will do is either create a new item or just a new configuration. So we're not creating new items each time. We'll either find an existing configuration or create a new one or create a new item with all the details, bring in the price, the cost, everything we need, and we can now, enter the quantity that the customer wants and send them, the quote or the sales order or whatever we're doing. Okay, so this is built. When I did that, just really quick, I'm going to go back in there. When I did that, it's come in and it's actually built out a pretty significant bill of material and routing for me to manufacture this product. So all of that just from making a few quick selections, and I've got everything I need to actually manufacture, not just quote, but to quote and to manufacture this product. So now I go in and I send this to the customer and they say, yes, that's great. Let's make that happen. And they send me a purchase order or something like that. And so now I want to track that purchase order with the sales order of this quote. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Doc Extender to quickly drag and drop documents. Now, of course, in Base Business Central, you can use the attachments, click on that, and do some things. But here it's nice and easy. We've got this little target here. I've got some documents like Outlook. I can just drag emails from Outlook or whatever. But maybe I've got a purchase order and something else, a couple of documents. I can just drag those over, drop them in, and that'll automatically attach them in there, and I'm done. Now, I did this as an attachment within Business Central, but again, that could have also gone into SharePoint, would have created a link to SharePoint there. And that gives me, that much more robust document management framework, because within SharePoint, I can do alerts, I can do revision histories, I can do workflows, I can do all sorts of things simply by dragging and dropping those documents in. And again, Doc Extender is free. You throw it in, it's 5 minutes or less to set it up and install it and set it up. And now you've got this drag and drop capability. Anywhere in Business Central, you see this attachments fact box. Pretty straightforward. All right, now we've got their purchase order. Everything's good to go. Next thing we want to do is, just for fun, I'm going to do a pick instruction. We don't want to do this normally yet because we still have to plan this and everything else. But since I'm on the sales order, I'm just going to print the pick instruction real quick and show you a couple of things. First of all, you'll notice the printer that's specified here. It's already said the Warehouse 1 shipping printer. And if I hit print at this point, that's where this picking list or multiple documents will show up. So if you go into the report selections, I could say, every time I print this picking list, I also want to print labels or, a data sheet or 5 different reports. Well, if I hit print, all of those will print right now at this Warehouse 1 shipping printer. Okay? And the reason it does that is that's using our print node print connector. So that's a cloud print capability. And again, that's free. You pay a company called Print Node, I think about $9 a month, but then you've got full cloud print capability. And the report that's selected here, this is one from our barcode generator tool. So if I hit preview, you can see this particular report has this barcode up at the top. Well, that's just a sample report that we provide as a sample. But you can go in, you can customize, you can add barcodes anywhere on here. And there's about 20 or so reports that we provide. Really, the barcode generator tool gives you the ability to add this style of barcode or QR codes or any type of barcode you like onto any report within the system. So in this case, it allows me to scan this to bring up this order when I'm on the handheld device and going to pick the product and everything else. All right, so simple as that. Those are some of the free tools: Doc Extender, Print Node Connector, barcode generator. What you saw here to configure this, that's called our product configurator. Now, once we've done all that, so we've gone in, we've created this. Now we need to go ahead and plan our production or plan our purchasing for these products. So we've got a few options. We've got this enhanced forecasting worksheet. I'll show you really quickly here. But the enhanced forecasting worksheet allows me to choose an item category or items, things like that. And I'm going to say, I want a 3-month forecast based on my, last 12 months of history. I'm going to hit calculate forecast. It's going to go out and it's going to say, I don't have enough history, likely because all the Business Central, Microsoft Business Central demo data is way back in the past. So I'm just going to change my date real quick. And now what we've got is a forecast for these periods. And what it's done is, I said, forecast 3 months. I could have done weeks or quarters or whatever, but forecast 3 months. So for this item, it's gone out. What it's done is it's taken all the sales history, it's sent it to the Azure AI, model within the cloud. It's crunched the numbers and it's come back with a forecast it recommends. And of course, you're not going to buy 7.17 shares. You're going to round that. There's a setting to round that up to the nearest whole number. But this gives me, the forecast for the upcoming months. And, some of these will be different. Most of these look like they're all the same, but you'll see a different forecast by month if it makes sense to the system, all right? And now with this forecast, I can just update the demand forecast. And now when I run the automated planning tools in the system, it's going to use this forecast to drive my purchasing or my manufacturing. Or what we can do is we can use formulas to calculate your reorder points, so your minimum, maximum quantities and things like that. So instead of using a forecast, the demand forecast, we can just update, your planning parameters in the system to set your minimum ordering quantity and everything else based on a forecast. Okay, so once we've done the forecast or we've just got sales demand, our next step is to go in and do some planning. And I'm not going to go into this in a ton of detail, other than to point out a few things. First of all, it's basically the same as the standard Business Central planning worksheet. I'm just going to zoom here a little, with a couple of exceptions. One is it's got this purchase plan capability. So if you're in a pure distribution environment, this is, the standard Business Central MRP capabilities won't really work well for you. You want something like this calculate purchase plan that's going to go out and very quickly tell you what you need to purchase from your vendors. It's going to keep track. Let's just choose one that is actually a purchased item. It's going to keep track of what we're planning on spending with a specific vendor. That's not a purchased item, sorry. Let's go over here. Let's find a purchase. There's a purchased item. So it's going to come in. It's going to tell me you're buying it from this vendor. This is what we're planning on spending with that vendor, those sorts of things. So it tracks all your purchases at the vendor level. You can see availability in other locations, all sorts of things. So if you're in a distribution environment, that calculate purchase plan is really what you need to automate your purchasing. Most people I see in distribution, they're using Excel or custom-made tools and paper and all sorts of things to plan purchasing. You don't need any of that. You need the enhanced planning worksheet with this calculate purchase plan. It'll save your life. Well, maybe not save your life, but it'll make it easy. All right, now a couple of other quick things on here. This tool, if you're already running the planning worksheet within Business Central, this is a much nicer tool for doing your planning, because it can come in there, it can show you your purchase history, your sales history. So at a glance, if it's telling me, I need 25 of these, I can very quickly come in and see, have I ever needed 25 ever in the history of time, or I've got it set up to show a year's worth of data, and clearly not. So I shouldn't be buying 25. At one point, I bought almost 100 here, and that was probably a mistake. But this gives you a quick visual verification of what you're doing. And there's a whole bunch of other tools. Like, for example, just telling me to purchase a whole bunch. Why is it doing that? Well, I can come in here, look at my planning parameters, make adjustments right here if I like, rather than having to go and find the stock keeping unit of the item and click 20 times to find these fields to make those changes. I can make them right here in this tool. But anyway, what the tool does at a high level, it's going to go out when you hit the purchase plan or the regenerative plan. It's going to figure out what your sales demand is, what your inventory is, where your incoming purchases are, and the difference between that supply and demand. It's going to tell you this is what you need to do to fill that gap between your supply and demand. You need to create production orders for all these things. You need to purchase all this product. And then when you're happy with that, you can simply go in and say, create my purchase orders or create my production orders, and it does it for you automatically. Now, once those production orders, and I'm going to zoom here again. Oops, wrong way. I'm going to zoom back to normal zoom. So once that's done, I hit create production orders or carry out action message. All my production orders are created. At this point, I'm going to do a few things. Like if I create my purchase orders, I'm going to need to be able to receive them in the facility, and the production orders I'm going to need to have to schedule and everything else. So let's actually have a look at the scheduling part of it real quick, and then we'll do the warehouse part. So the graphical scheduler is that free tool I mentioned, where if I install it and I open this up, you'll get a view very similar to this. If you already have production orders within your environment, it'll open up, it'll show you all your work centers and machine centers on the side here, and all the production orders and how they're scheduled. And then I can select one of these. I can see all the routings and the linkages between, all the operations, the linkages between those operations. The text that you see on here, the colors that you see on here, that's all configurable. You can do anything you like with the system. If I need to drill down on it, I can hit details. It'll show me the production order that I had selected, or I can go in and drill down into something more specific if I want to get into the routing or components, things like that. So it's a good tool for sort of seeing what's going on within the facility. And what I did on this particular one, I also added in my work center loading, because one of the nice features of this tool is it allows you to create views that can show you any data you like within the system. So I could have a view for purchase orders or sales orders, or a calendar view for my task list, or whatever you want to do. So, and I should actually go back in there. An example, we've got a pick assignment view. If you're using warehouse picks, this allows you to schedule and assign your warehouse picks, and it's all done through the graphical scheduler. So it's a really nice tool for that. And on the production side, what it also allows me to do is drag and drop. Like if I don't want, this particular operation running on machine center 100, I can move it to a different machine center and a different date and time, and it will reschedule that production order to match that drag and drop. And what it's doing right now, this is Business Central making those changes. It's doing that reschedule, and it's rescheduled that operation, and we can see, kind of the result of it. So you can do that drag and drop to reschedule. You can also set up colors, like this one is, gray and red because it's late. So we said if it's late, turn it red, and that's a color choice you can make as well. So great little tool. If you don't have a lot of production orders in the system, or if you don't need to do a lot of drag and drop, this thing is excellent because I can see everything that's happening. I can see if it's late. I can put any other data I want on here, like purchase receipts or anything like that, and I can drag and drop to move things around. But if you have a lot of production orders, this isn't going to be that useful for you, especially if you're using the automated planning to do it, because those dates may not be realistic. Business Central, by default, will backward schedule production orders, and it will overload work centers and machine centers without any concern whatsoever. So a schedule like this is likely not executable because I've got this particular machine center named Linda overloaded at this point in time. She can't do two things at one time. So, Business Central doesn't schedule things all that well. And so I could come in here and move things around so this work center or machine center isn't overloaded. But I don't want to spend my day, staring at a chart and doing drag and drop all day. So instead, what I want to do is I want this to happen automatically. So in this case, I'm in a different company here, and it's got, many more production orders in it, and more complex production orders. We're building battery boxes. So if I open up the graphical scheduler on this one, and I'm in the shipping and receiving role center, so I'll just open it from the search. If we open this up, it's going to show us, sort of the default schedule in our Business Central environment, and it's not going to show that well because this is the schedule that the Business Central has generated without any additional help from our automated production scheduling. And you can see here on this particular machine, it's scheduled everything on Friday afternoon. And yes, I could take this and drag and drop it and move it around and everything else, but I don't want to do that. What I want is I want a tool that's going to take these production orders and schedule them in a way that I can actually work on them. So how do we do that? That's pretty simple. I hit a button or a link here. I'm going to say scheduling from, and again, my demo data is all in the past. I'm going to say tomorrow at 8 a.m., schedule for the next 30 days, and I'm going to hit go. And this could be automated as well. This could run every morning at 7 a.m. or twice a day or whatever you want to do. I have about 60 production orders in the system, so it takes about 20 seconds to do it. If you have 1,000 production orders in the system, it might take you several minutes to run that schedule, but it's still very quick for what it's doing because it's looking at literally tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of combinations of ways to execute that schedule. And it's come back and it said, it's going to take you, this amount of time, 7 days to actually produce all that product. You're going to have 31 late orders because we couldn't do it all within the time frame that was required. You're going to have a bunch of early orders and a bunch of on time. And I can drill down on this and see which orders are going to be late. maybe reschedule them, like, reschedule the sales order, or maybe I change priorities or start another shift or something like that. Rerun the schedule to see what the impact is. So all of these schedules you see here, these are essentially what if scenarios. These are saying this, for this particular scenario, this is what my schedule looks like. Well, I can change my assumptions, like the number of shifts I have or subcontracting or things like that, rerun it and see if I can improve that schedule. If I want to look at this graphically, what I do is I simply go in, hit that button. And again, normally, actually, let me go to let's do the active one. So normally, customers that start using this, for the first little while, they will actually come in and review the schedule. And after a while, they'll realize they don't even have to do that because the schedule generates automatically and it provides a realistic schedule that we can actually execute on the shop floor. So the purple here, magenta, that's our setup time. The green is the run time. And it's come in, and on some production orders, it's able to eliminate the setup time. So if you've got changeover times, or you want to schedule things from light to dark and then back down to light, or you've got allergens and non-allergens you need to schedule in sequence, it can do all of those sorts of things. But these are the same production orders you saw earlier, where everything was scheduled Friday afternoon on this work center. Well, now it's chosen the best machine to run that work on, and it's automatically scheduled it for us with 1 click or 0 clicks if you prefer. Now I can still drag and drop in here if I really wanted. I can move things around and do things, but really you don't have to anymore. It's all automatic. And it also will take material availability into account and labor availability. So if I don't have material to do this particular production order, it won't schedule it until that material is available. And it'll look at upcoming purchase orders, lead times, whatever you've got set up to determine when it's realistic to schedule a production order that doesn't have material available. And an example of that down here is labor. So I've got these 2 machine centers, welding areas, where during the day I've got enough space. I'm running 2 production orders simultaneously. But at 4 p.m. here, I lose one of my welders. My shift changes. Now I've only got 1 person on shift. All of a sudden, I can only schedule 1 production order at a time. Okay, so it looks at labor, material, tooling, whatever constraints you want to throw at, and it will schedule everything appropriately and come up with really an optimized schedule, much better than any human can come up with it. As I mentioned, it literally looked at tens of thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of combinations of schedule to come up with this being the best schedule. All right, now once we've got our schedule, the next thing we want to do is, people on the shop floor need to actually do the work on that schedule. So, and if we want to capture the time from the shop floor, right, in real time, we use something called shop floor insight. Again, all of these are independent and optional solutions. You don't have to get everything all at once. But shop floor insight allows you to eliminate, sort of your paper time capture, or even if you have another system in there to capture time, because this is built into Business Central. Everything I do here is real time with Business Central. So if I'm using barcoding, and you can use touch screens or barcodes, I'm going to show you barcodes here. If I'm an employee out on the shop floor and I need to start working on something, what I do is I walk up to a shared terminal. So we have a screen somewhere out in the facility by my work center that I'm going to walk up to. I'm going to walk up, I'm going to identify myself to the system by scanning my badge. Right now it's logging into Business Central, so the first time it does that for the day, it's going to take a few seconds to log into Business Central. Once it's in there, I'm just going to lock the screen and just show you. Once it's logged in for the first time for the day, the next time I come up, it's pretty much instant. And so it unlocks the screen and it shows me everything I've done today. This is my time card. I haven't done anything yet today, so it's blank. But all I have to do at this point is scan what I'm going to be working on, and it brings it up. Now the people in Business Central know exactly who's working on this production order, this activity, when they started, how much elapsed time is on it, all of those sorts of things. So we have all that. And from the shop floor employee perspective, this is really easy. I went beep, beep, and I've recorded my time, right? I've recorded what I've started, and I'm off to do my work. I can also see the bill of materials here, and I can do consumption and output. So if I need to record what I've completed or what I've used at point of use consumption, I can do that. I can see work instructions. These come, again, right from Business Central. So if you want to provide instructions to the employees on the shop floor, they can see it here. If these work instructions aren't enough, there's not enough detail there, I can also show links. And these links can be, well, web pages, documents, videos, whatever you like. In this case, it's a PDF that shows me, assembly diagram for that, battery box I'm producing. And the nice thing about this is, guess how those links get there? Well, you can drag and drop them with Doc Extender, and away they go. As soon as you do that, they're available on the item card or potentially on the production order, and you're set. But again, these are coming right from Business Central. And let's say, I'm doing the work, and I've also got some quality inspections that I need to record while I'm doing that. So if you require the people to record additional attributes for the work that they're doing, typically quality inspections, but it could be anything, I can also view those and record additional information. Now, in this case, this is a lot tracked item, so it wants to know which lot number I'm actually working on. And for this particular lot number, I can come in and record all sorts of additional, information for that particular, operation. And all of these things that you see here, this is a lookup to another table in Business Central. This is a drop-down. This is just a text field. You can set up tolerances, all those sorts of things. And when we see this result, this failure result, we can send Teams messages to people. We can start additional workflows. We can do all sorts of things if we've got a failure on, anything that people have recorded out there in the shop floor. All right. So we've got, just to summarize, we've got, consumption, output, quality, assembly diagrams or work instructions, all of those sorts of things. And to get to all this, all I did was I went beep and up it comes, right? Now, really quickly, I'm just going to switch to another employee here. They've got, different view. They see a dispatch list where if you want to use a touch screen, potentially they can just tap on this and then tap clock on to start that work. They see the picture down there as well for fun, but that's another option. Now, by the way, if I go back to myself, so I'm clocked into myself, once I'm done this work, to start the next thing that I'm working on, I simply scan my next barcode, and maybe I'm going to do some maintenance on the conveyor belt that I was just working on. So we can capture time against maintenance, against production orders, against non-productive time, all sorts of things. Anything that happens in the facility, we can capture that activity, that event, record the time against it, record any additional information against it as well. And of course, this feeds right back into Business Central for the scheduling to generate us a good schedule now that it knows what we've actually done on the prior shift or the prior day. All right. Now, once we've done that, we've scheduled it, we've executed in the shop floor. The next thing we're going to want to do is come in and do some warehouse management. Maybe we need to receive some parts for the product that is going to be produced, or we need to output something or put things away. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to open up the warehouse management application. And what you see on the screen there is the screen from the scanner that I have in my hand. And this is the full Warehouse Insight application. I'm also going to show you, I'm just going to show my webcam here real quick. There we go. So that's the device that I'm actually going to be using to scan. Pretty typical warehouse management device with a physical keypad and everything else. And as I move the screen here, it moves on the side. I'm also going to show you this one. And I'm going to actually install WMS Express on this one as we go through it. And I'll use this one to actually do the work. So WMS Express is kind of the light version of this. And what I've done is I've come in here and I've pre-installed it. So I've got the application installed. And we're going to now set it up and configure it. And the way I do that is from within. These guys want to talk to each other. Let me just move them apart. What I'm going to do is I've got these barcodes here, and one of them is to install the device, and the other one is to configure the device. So once I've got the application installed, which is basically scanning a barcode, so I've got the application installed, now I need to be able to connect up to Business Central to do my work. I simply scan the configuration barcode, it comes in, it asks me to log in, once I've logged in, either using my standard Business Central credentials or what we call a device license, I'm in and I'm immediately able to start scanning barcodes into Business Central with no issue. So if you've done WMS Express installs or Warehouse Insight installs before, like set up a device, this takes me about 5 minutes from start to finish to set up a new device and Business Central to use WMS Express. Now, in reality, it's probably a day of work to get everything up and running and make sure you're comfortable with it, but it's a very quick and easy way to get barcoding in your existing Business Central environment. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to walk through the full Warehouse Insight. It's got a ton of options here again. WMS Express has receiving, it has picking, it has stock take, and bin movements, those sorts of things. Warehouse Insight's clearly got a lot more, including the ability to create your own applications. And we've got an add-on catalog, which is a marketplace of applications where you can go in and install, if there's a specific application you need, like fixed asset counting or proof of delivery or any number of free applications that are on there. You tap on them, it installs it, and it's available on the device. But what we're going to focus on today is really just the basics. So I'm going to do a little bit of receiving and maybe a little bit of picking, and we'll go from there. So the first thing I'm going to do is, if I go into receiving here, I'm going to be very brief on this. What it's going to do is show me all the purchase orders in the environment, again, created with our enhanced planning pack or manually created. They're in the system. I can scan a purchase order in the system if I like a barcode here. It'll bring up the purchase order. I can filter it or whatever I want. I'm just going to grab that purchase order 003 there, and it's going to come up with a list of all the items that I need to receive on this particular purchase order. And now all I do, and sorry, the webcam tends to make things lag a little, so if there's too much lag, I'll stop the webcam, but it looks good. And here's all the items that I need to receive on this particular purchase order. And so now all I have to do to start receiving is start scanning barcodes. If I don't have barcodes, I can print them right from the handheld device or go into Business Central and print the barcodes. And again, our barcode generator tool and our print node connector allow us to do that seamlessly. So let's assume I have barcodes on the product. Here's a sample list, again, generated from our barcode generator tool. It's a report that can generate all sorts of barcodes. I'm using these square ones, but it doesn't matter what type of barcode you have, it can be any barcode. And I'm just simply going to scan one of the items there. It's going to find it in the list, optionally show me a picture so I can do that visual verification that I scanned, that the label matches the product it's attached to. And then I simply enter the quantity that I've received, and I'm done. It's updated Business Central, and I changed the color so it turns red here if I partially received it, and that's it. That's how you do receiving. If I've got serial numbered items or lot numbered items, the same thing. I scan a barcode. That particular barcode had the lot number in it, but it didn't have the package number, so I'd either have to scan a secondary barcode for the package number or manually enter it, and then enter the quantity of that particular lot number I found, and whatever unit of measure I can receive in multiple units of measure. This quantity can default in to whatever I like, 0 or the remaining quantity or whatever you want, and that's it. So that's how I do receiving. And as a matter of fact, that's pretty much how you do everything within the system. It's just beep and optionally enter a quantity, and you're done. So, one last thing actually here on receiving that I'll mention is it's got a lot of other options. Normally you're just going beep and optionally entering a quantity, but I also have the ability to go in there. I may have to kill the webcam here. I can also go in there and take photos of everything that I've received, especially if it's damaged. And what happens to these pictures is they automatically get uploaded and attached to the purchase order in the system. So that's what it uses to do that, doc extender, or optionally doc extender. And so I can take all these photos of damaged product or the wrong product, and now the purchaser has a record of all of that that they can use to start a claim with the carrier or the vendor or whatever you like. All right, so that's basically it. So that's receiving, and I'll just briefly go into picking because it's essentially the same thing. The picks are going to be generated from the order fulfillment worksheet. So it's going to go in and create all these picks and tell us what we need to do for the day. And then as an employee, I can either have picks assigned to me or I can choose one. And I'm using something called a pick. If you don't know what that is, chances are you're picking directly against sales orders, which is perfectly fine as well. This particular, oh, sorry, I'm actually accidentally hit the back button there while I was choosing my pick to use. So I'm going to go in here, choose pick number 4, open that up and keep my thumb away from the screen. And this is showing me everything I need to pick on this particular document here. And, oh man, I may kill the webcam. I keep threatening to do it, but I may do it now. All right, so this is everything that I need to pick on that particular document. And what it's got, this is actually a combination of 3 different sales orders on this one pick document. So you can, combine sales documents. You can do pretty much anything you like. And same thing here. I scan a barcode, enter a quantity, and I've indicated that it's available to ship. In this case, I do have bins enabled, so I scan the bin, then the item, optionally enter the quantity, and I'm done. And it's as simple as that. Okay. So that's, by the way, the webcam that's interfering. So simply, if I want to pick a particular item, I'm going to scan the bin that I'm picking from, scan the item that I'm picking. It's going to optionally show me that picture of the item, and then I'm going to come in, enter the quantity, and I'm off to the races. Simple as that. All right, so that's a little bit on the warehouse management. Now again, there's a ton of things you can do in the warehouse management beyond receiving and picking and all of those sorts of things. There's a full online video that shows all a lot of the details of what you're able to accomplish with it. But that allows you to now do barcoding with Business Central. I'm going to kill the webcam for sure. All right. Now what we've got back in Business Central, once we've done all that, we've picked it, we've received the product, it's gone in production, we've picked it, we've done all of those things with barcodes. We now need to ship the product we've produced or purchased to our customers. Again, there's 2 ways to do it. One is dynamic ship. And dynamic ship for Australian carriers, as I mentioned, we've got, I think it's close to 300 carriers in Australia we support directly, which means that I can go out and get the rates across, 10 different or 100 different carriers. If you work with 5 or 6 different carriers, we can automatically go out, retrieve what they're quoting for a shipment, generate all the documentation, their labels, their bills of lading, whatever you need from those carriers to ship the product out the door. And we keep track of that cost and what we want to charge the customer based on the cost or their order value or whatever you like. So definitely, if you're using a lot of different carriers, especially the Australia-specific carriers, dynamic ship is a great tool to use as you do the packaging, rate shopping, everything else. What I'm going to show you, just in the interest of time here, is the simple one, which is the free one, and that is Ordership Express. In Ordership Express, again, there's an online video that shows you sort of the basics of how to get it set up, and it really is a very quick setup time, maybe 10 minutes or so. It doesn't have the same breadth of carriers in Australia, but it does have all the big international carriers, DHL, UPS, FedEx, all of those sorts of things. But at any rate, I'm in the sales order. I need to ship it. We're actually going to ship it United States Postal Service because this is a U.S. order here. So I'm going to ship it this way, and I'm shipping these bikes. I need to get parcel shipping labels. So I'm going to go in, hit create shipping labels, and it's going to come up, and it defaults to this, but I can change the carrier here. If I prefer to use UPS or one of the other carriers I have set up in the system, I can do that. But I'll leave it as USPS. And I'm going to say, this is well, actually, let's do a 30 by 20 by 10 centimeter, and it's going to be 2 kilograms. So you set the default unit of measure and weight, of course. I had inches and pounds, but it can be whatever you like. And the system will convert it automatically. So that's the box I'm shipping. I'm going to have as many packages here as I like to ship, but I'm just shipping this one. Maybe I want to find out what it's going to cost. Normally, I would just say get label, and I get my shipping label, and I'm done. But in this case, I first want to find out what it will cost me. So I hit get label. It says it's $7 to ship this. I'm planning on charging the customer $9. This is the cost or the price that will be added to the sales order for this customer. We've marked up that shipping. And maybe the customer's on the phone and they say, well, I need somebody to sign for it when you ship it. Okay, well, let's go in there and add an adult signature option to this particular shipment. Let's see what that costs us. Well, it's a little bit more money, almost double the price. Let's go ahead and take that, and we're going to use that. So, you know, you can change options, you can change packages, all those sorts of things, change carriers to see if a different carrier has a better rate, those sorts of things. And then when I'm done, I simply hit get label. And what it will do is it'll go out to the carrier, it'll get the shipping label, and right now it printed it out on somebody's printer is what happened. Because I have that print node connector installed, I've set it up so that as soon as I do that, that shipping label ends up on the shipping printer immediately. Now, if I want to see what it looked like, I can go into this ship packages. Here's the package I just created, and I can go in there and reprint it. And in this case, I'll do a print preview so you can see what it looks like. But it's not, you know, rocket magic, as I say. It's, you know, a label that we put on the box, and out the door it goes. Simple as that. All right. So that's Ordership Express. There's a number of things you can do. You can refund it, you can create return labels, all sorts of things. But for any parcel type shipments that are domestic, that is a great tool. And you can see over here, we've added in the cost and the price for that shipment automatically. We've added in the tracking number for that shipment, all automatically. And again, if you want much more robust functionality and a greater list of carriers, you'd want to look at dynamic ship. All right, so really briefly, that was, you know, we entered an order, we captured information from the customer with Doc Extender, we forecast some product just for fun, but we planned all the purchase and production with the enhanced planning pack. We then, you know, sent that out to be scheduled for manufacturing. We used the handhelds to do, you know, picking, receiving, those sorts of things to do our warehouse management, whether we're manufacturing or just distribution. And at the end, we shipped that product out with Ordership Express and talked about dynamic ship. That's kind of end-to-end, from order entry out to shipping, and all the sort of tasks you need to perform in the middle.